The salty sea breeze, mixed with the sound of waves, rushed in, and the sunscreen I was holding fell to the ground. In the pavilion, my husband, who was supposed to be on a business trip, was feeding watermelon to his first love. My 4-year-old son suddenly shouted, "Daddy." I covered his mouth and dragged my 2 children back to my hotel room. A mysterious person then said they wanted to collaborate with me to bring down my husband. Lucas was on a 7-day business trip, so I didn't have to take care of his meals or daily needs. I took the 2 kids to the beach for a relaxing vacation. The salty sea breeze carried my son's laughter past my ears. My 5-year-old son wiggled his chubby, sand-covered arms and protested in a babyish voice, "Mom, I want to build a castle." I looked down at his plump face, sunburned red, and my heart melted. My daughter's pink sand bucket lay crooked by my feet, the plastic shovel gleaming cheaply under the sun. The shallow water area was packed with screaming tourists, waves breaking into white foam wrapped in laughter. I looked toward the pavilion 100 meters away. The blue and white striped shirt pricked my eyes painfully. It was the one I picked out for Lucas at the mall last week. Now, the 3rd button of the shirt was missing, revealing a dark red scratch on his collarbone. The man crouched down, holding a piece of watermelon. A girl tilted her head and bit into it, the bright red juice dripping from the corner of her mouth onto the man's hand. The girl licked the watermelon juice off his hand with her mouth. The man pulled her into his arms, and her coquettish laughter scattered with the wind. The sunscreen in my hand fell with a click onto the sand, white lotion splattering onto my son's calf. Suddenly, my 5-year-old son broke free from my grip, his childish cheer piercing my eardrums, "Daddy! Don't go over there." My voice was so sharp it startled even myself. I covered my son's mouth with my hand, picked him up, grabbed my daughter, and fled the beach. The hotel room door slammed heavily against the wall when my daughter suddenly bent over and vomited all over the floor. Melted strawberry ice cream mixed with sand spread into dark red stains on the pristine white carpet. My son was still crying, pounding on the door, "I want Daddy. I want Daddy." I stared at the disheveled woman in the mirror, the torn hem of her dress like a fierce scar. The sea breeze, salty and fishy, drifted into the room. The children were asleep. I curled up in the corner of the balcony when a voice said, "I want a divorce." But another voice replied, "What about the children? You can't even support yourself." The wedding ring pressed painfully against the base of my finger, yet I forced it back into place, determined not to let him notice, not to let those 2 scoundrels have the last laugh. A gold-embossed business card was suddenly slipped through the crack of the door. "Cody, commercial liquidator." The words gleamed coldly in the dim light. I looked up to see a man in a suit standing in the hotel room across from me, waving. The glass in Cody's office filtered the noon sunlight into a cold hue. I stared at the trophy in Cody's hand, its name worn away. It should have been the glory of my financial modeling competition, but now it was just a plaything on his desk. The scent of cedar mixed with rust filled my nostrils, and suddenly I remembered the scratch marks on Lucas's collarbone from the beach, a churning feeling rising in my stomach. "Help me take Lucas down." Cody wiped the dust off the trophy with white gloves, his eyes behind the lenses fixed intently on me. "I'll teach you how to make money, how to get revenge. But before that, first learn how to be a dog that bites." The projector switched screens, and Caroline's coquettish voice exploded, "Bonnie is just a useless, yellow-faced hag. Lucas has long been tired of her." I suddenly gripped the edge of the table. "What exactly do you want?" "Our goal is the same, to deal with them." Cody tossed a file in front of me. "Lucas is guilty of tax evasion and asset transfer, each offense enough to land him in jail for 10 years. But the most interesting part is," he suddenly leaned in, his breath hot against my ear, "the black suitcase in his trunk contains more than just money." "Why should I help you?" I said coldly. "Because Lucas betrayed you, and you want to make money." "As long as you help me take him down, I can help you make money," Cody said icily. "You've come to the wrong person." I left after dropping that line. "I knew you'd come looking for me," Cody said disdainfully. When I got home, Lucas was sitting cross-legged watching TV. The coffee table was piled with unwashed dishes, and beer cans were scattered all over the floor. Before, when I was at home, I would clean all this up spotless, making sure he was comfortable and taken care of. He only had to move his mouth. I used to think he worked hard to support the whole family and never wanted to burden him with housework. It really proved that saying true: if you don't spend your husband's money, someone else will. If your husband doesn't use it, someone else will. Where have you been? You've been gone half the day. Look at the mess in the house, Lucas said unhappily when he saw me come back. If the house is messy, can't you clean it up? I replied. When my parents-in-law lived with us, they could help me tidy up the house and look after the children. Now that they've moved out, I have to do everything by myself, and also take care of Lucas. He's extremely picky about his clothes. He can't stand even a slight wrinkle on his shirt, and his tie must perfectly match his outfit. Why the hell are you crazy enough to look for a job? Are we starving or lacking clothes at home? He shot me a sideways glance. The house is a mess, there's no one to watch the kids, and you want to go to work? How much money do you think you'll make? Our son is in kindergarten, and our daughter is in elementary school now. I have my parents to take them to and from school, I said. We should just hire a nanny for the house. The little money you earn isn't even enough to pay for a nanny. What kind of shock have you had? Are you out of your mind? Lucas said. At home, you eat my food, drink my drinks, and don't have to worry about a thing. Why throw away such a good life to work for a few thousand yuan? Besides, you haven't worked for years. What company would want you? Hurry up and find my striped shirt. I need to wear it to work tomorrow, Lucas continued. I stared at the beer can rolling at his feet and suddenly remembered that 2 days ago, when our daughter had a fever, he was posting pictures of the sunset at the golf course on his social media. Even if it means sweeping the streets, I have to go out and work, I said calmly. Lucas suddenly kicked over the beer can at his feet, spilling the unfinished beer all over the floor. Don't take my kindness for weakness. His temple veins bulged. If it weren't for me making money, do you think you could live in such a nice house? Live such a good life? You don't know how to do anything except take care of the 2 kids, enjoying life at home every day. You're truly ungrateful. Late at night, once Lucas's snores began, I used his fingerprint to unlock his phone, found his chat history with Caroline, recorded the entire screen, sent it to my phone, then erased all traces of my actions, as if nothing had happened. A sudden scream came from my daughter's room. I rushed in to find she was having a nightmare. Looking at my 2 children, both as flawless as jade, my heart shattered. Outside Cody's office floor-to-ceiling window, dusk sliced the city into sharp geometric shapes. You're here? Cody twirled a pen as he sized me up. Then let's get started. He raised his hand and pressed the remote. The projection screen lit up with Lucas's company financial reports, dense rows of numbers that made my head spin, with several glaring red anomalies that stood out sharply. On my first day at work, Cody tossed me a USB drive. This contains the core data of Lucas's acquisition of the new energy company. Do a risk assessment in 3 hours. I stared at the professional jargon flashing on the screen. It knew me, but I didn't know it. Seeing those numbers, all I wanted was to run away. But when I thought of my daughter curled up on the sofa waiting for fever medicine, while Lucas was on the yacht holding Caroline, the sound of my keystrokes suddenly grew frantic. Those unfamiliar financial formulas were like dormant fragments of memory, struggling to piece together in my mind. The final report I submitted was full of holes, but Cody didn't get angry. He just threw the report on the desk and said, starting tomorrow, come to the office 2 hours early every day. I'll teach you myself. Late at night when I got home, Lucas was slumped on the sofa playing video games, fast food boxes piled at his feet. Heard you're running errands at Chin Group? He didn't even look up. Don't blow all the kids' milk money. I clenched my bag strap and headed to the bedroom, hearing him sneer, you really think you can be a business elite? You might as well come back and iron my shirts, it's more practical. In the days that followed, before the morning light had even touched the city, I was already sitting in Cody's office. He started with the most basic financial ratio analysis, marking the connections between data points with pens of different colors. I was like a parched sponge, desperately soaking up knowledge. During lunch breaks, while other colleagues went out to eat, I stayed in front of the computer, repeatedly practicing building financial models, my fingers tapping mechanically on the keyboard, eyes burning but too stubborn to rub. At night, after returning home and putting the children to bed, I would turn on the desk lamp again and chew through those dense business cases. When I was too tired to keep my eyes open, I'd splash cold water on my face. 3 months later, I was finally able to independently complete a decent risk assessment report. At the department meeting, I presented the analysis results in front of everyone for the first time. My voice was still a bit shaky, but my thoughts were clear. Cody sat in the corner, silent. After the meeting, he handed me a book titled Business Negotiation Strategies. Next week, come with me to meet a client. Somehow, the news reached Lucas. At a family gathering, he raised his glass in front of the relatives and said, "Oh, Our Lady is going to do business now? Just don't end up using the contract as a napkin." Some relatives chuckled, some felt awkward, and some cast sympathetic glances my way. These were the prices I had to pay, and I accepted them. He leaned close to me, the smell of alcohol hitting my face. "Wouldn't it be better to obediently go home and take care of the kids? Why do you have to embarrass yourself out here? The one embarrassing themselves is you. If you've had too much to drink, shut your crow's mouth and go to your room to sleep." I shot back at him, then walked out without looking back. Lucas stared in shock at my retreating figure. At the negotiation table, I sat nervously beside Cody, my palms sweaty. The opposing representative spoke confidently, laying out one tempting cooperation offer after another. But Cody remained silent. I recalled what he had taught me: don't be fooled by surface benefits, listen for the hidden meaning. I forced myself to calm down and carefully analyze the other party's wording and tone. When they mentioned a certain key clause, I suddenly realized the hidden trap and quietly jotted down a reminder on a note to give to Cody. Although this negotiation didn't immediately result in a partnership, Cody patted me on the shoulder and said, "Progress." As time went on, the projects I handled became increasingly complex. During a cooperation discussion with a foreign company, I was responsible for preparing the market research report. Faced with a massive amount of foreign language materials, I spent my days gathering data and analyzing, and my nights staying up late translating, sleeping only 3 to 4 hours a night for a whole week. Lucas deliberately said in front of the child, "Your mom only cares about work now, she doesn't want us anymore." When my daughter repeated these words to me, I felt like I could kill him. In the study late at night, I still gritted my teeth and completed every piece of data. The final report received high praise from Cody and the client. At that moment, looking out at the dazzling night view, tears welled up uncontrollably. This was not only recognition of my work but also proof that I had regained my self-worth. At a business cocktail party, Lucas ran into me raising a glass with Cody, his face dark and menacing. "Don't get cocky too soon. Your skills are just child's play in the business world." His threats no longer scared me like before, instead, they became the steps I climbed to keep moving forward. Just as I was getting the hang of work and thought I could relax a little to make up for lost sleep, my father called to say that my beloved grandmother was seriously ill and hospitalized. The hospital's disinfectant smell was like a rusty knife stabbing deep into my nostrils. The medical report in my palm was crumpled from being clenched so tightly. The doctor's words, "The heart condition is too severe, at most 6 months," made me dizzy. Through the glass on the hospital room door, I saw Father holding Grandma's hand, speaking softly. Mother had her back turned, secretly wiping away tears. "The elderly woman seems to have suffered a severe shock," the doctor said, his white coat swaying before my eyes. "Has anything happened in your family recently? Grandma's heart isn't strong, but Dad and Mom have always taken good care of her. Nothing unusual has happened at home. If anything, it's just that I've been working day and night lately, but Grandma doesn't know that." My mind was a tangled mess, unable to make sense of anything. When I pushed open the hospital room door, Grandma was wearing an oxygen tube, her face haggard. Seeing me enter, she immediately showed a kind smile. Her withered hand grasped my wrist, the veins beneath her skin like dried vines. "Bonnie, you've lost weight, my dear. Have you been facing some trouble lately?" The heart monitor emitted its steady beeping. "What are you talking about, Grandma?" I smiled. "I'm doing just fine." I slipped the peeled apple into her palm. "Lucas recently took on a big project and went on a business trip. When he returns, I'll have him come see you." "Don't ask him to come." "I don't want to see him." Grandma glanced at me, then closed her eyes. "I'm tired and want to rest a while." "You should go back and be with the kids." The locator in my pocket suddenly vibrated. Lucas's car was heading toward Caroline's apartment. On the third day, Lucas went to the hospital to see Grandma. She was indifferent to him, saying she wasn't feeling well, and since Lucas was too busy, she told him not to come again. She let him leave the fruit and go. In the days that followed, besides working, I spent all my time in Grandma's hospital room, chatting with her. Every day she would talk about the mischievous stories from my childhood, sometimes forgetting to bring my school bag, red scarf, pencil case, or homework to school, sometimes forgetting to bring my school uniform jacket home after class, sometimes sneaking snacks at home and getting caught by my parents, who then sought Grandma's protection. With each story, Grandma would laugh uncontrollably, but her weak heart made her cautious about laughing too hard. "Thank you, Bonnie. In my next life, I want to be your grandma again." Grandma stopped laughing, looked at me, and said very seriously, "Grandma, not only in my next life, but in the life after that, 10 lives, 100 lives, I will always be your granddaughter." I lay on her, tears streaming down, unable to stop. At 2 in the morning in the office, I was dozing on the keyboard, dreaming of my daughter Tiantian's sweet dimples, when suddenly the phone rang, and my mother's crying woke me up. "Hurry to the hospital. Our daughter has a fever of 40 degrees, calling out Mom nonstop." The heavy rain stung my face as I hailed a cab by the roadside, and through the curtain of rain, I saw Lucas holding Caroline as they walked out of the hotel revolving door. Caroline, wearing 10-centimeter heels, whispered something into Lucas's ear, and the two of them burst out laughing. In the days that followed, I felt like a rubber band stretched to its limit, not knowing which day it would snap. I told myself, life is the choice you made, once chosen, don't regret it, and don't look back. No matter how hard it gets, even if you have to kneel, you must see it through. They seriously underestimate us. Cody slammed the tablet down on the table. On the screen, Lucas was clinking glasses with a man in a suit, and behind them hung a gilded plaque inscribed with win-win cooperation. Lucas wanted to join forces with other companies that had long been hostile to the Chin Group to bring it down. Cody gently pressed on my shoulder, his cold fingertips seeped through. "Take a deep breath," Cody said, "we're already moving in the right direction. Hold on. Believe in yourself, everything will get better." After saying this, he poured me a glass of water. The mirror reflected a madwoman with bloodshot eyes and a haggard face, so different from the confident me 7 years ago on the financial battlefield. Half a year later, Grandma left us, carrying a deep reluctance to part. Before she went, she mustered a faint smile for me. In her final moments, her cloudy eyes suddenly brightened. "Bonnie, I know everything about you." The ventilator emitted a harsh alarm, and her withered hand gripped mine tightly. "Grandma knows Bonnie is dutiful and that nothing can truly defeat you, but life is so short, you must follow your heart and love yourself first." I held her hand, stunned, without tears, as if she had merely fallen asleep. I recalled every forced smile by her bedside over the past 6 months. I thought I had fooled Grandma, but it turns out the greatest actor was her. She had long seen through my countless wounds and, to honor my filial piety, stayed with me to play out this clumsy performance. At the funeral, Lucas wore a sharp black suit and went through all the formalities mechanically. I stared at the hypocritical tears in Lucas's eyes in the morning hall and suddenly remembered the doctor's question that day at the hospital, "Has anything happened in your family recently?" 3 months after Grandma passed away, Cody sent me a surveillance video. In the footage, Lucas and Caroline entered Grandma's hospital room and left 20 minutes later. That same day, Grandma was rushed to the emergency room. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into the old scars on my palms. When the divorce papers were slammed onto the mahogany coffee table, Lucas and my in-laws thought I had lost my mind. "Are you crazy?" Lucas's voice carried his usual condescending tone. "The kids are still so young, why divorce?" My in-laws looked at me in confusion. "Bonnie, what's going on?" my mother-in-law asked. I sneered and slammed the tablet down in front of Lucas. On the screen, a series of intimate photos and videos of Caroline and Lucas played automatically, some utterly indecent. My father's face instantly flushed a deep purple red. He grabbed the purple clay teapot from the table and splashed it at Lucas. The hot water scalded Lucas's face, causing blisters to form. Grandma's hand, clutching the Buddhist prayer beads, veins bulging, caused the beads to scatter across the floor with a clatter. "And this too." I pulled out the voice recorder, Caroline's delicate voice echoing through the living room. "Lucas said his wife is just a yellow-faced hag spoiled by him. If it weren't for Lucas supporting her, she wouldn't survive at all. If it weren't for the 2 kids, he would have divorced her long ago. Beast." Father grabbed a small stool from the floor and started hitting Lucas with it. "How did our family end up with a scoundrel like you?" Lucas clutched his head and fled toward the door. Running too fast, he hit his head on the doorframe, crying out in pain. He didn't dare stop, nor take the elevator. He escaped down the stairs. I turned back to the room, locked the door, lay on the bed, and cried out loud. I cried for myself, I cried for my grandmother. My in-laws were kind and always treated me like a daughter, but they had a son who was utterly rotten. Seeing how heartbroken I was, they stayed in the living room all night, not daring to knock on my door, occasionally pressing their ears against it to listen for any sounds inside. 3 months later, outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lucas, with dark circles under his eyes, threw the custody agreement at me. "Don't think that just because you get the child, you've won. I have plenty of ways to make you regret it." I signed while saying, "I hope the one who regrets it in the end isn't you. I wish you and your first love a happy life." He was so furious that his hand trembled as he signed. Good. When someone seriously hurts you, fighting back is the best course of action. The spotlight weaved a web across the new product launch venue. I gripped the microphone and stepped onto the stage, my gaze sweeping over Lucas seated in the audience. On the big screen, a private conversation recording between him and his partner began to play. "Leak that company's design drafts, they simply can't compete with us." A murmur of shock rose from the crowd as Lucas abruptly stood up. I pressed the remote, switching the screen to an email screenshot showing him instructing employees to maliciously report competitors. Every line of text was like a blade, slicing through his hypocritical facade. "Lucas, do you really think you can rest easy by suppressing others in secret?" I sneered, waving my phone. "These pieces of evidence have already been handed out to every media friend here." Lucas's face flushed red as he grabbed the water bottle beside his chair and slammed it hard against the big screen. Amid the sharp shattering of glass, he tore open his throat and shouted, "This is malicious editing. Someone's trying to take us down." He spun around and pointed at the reporters in the front row holding cameras. "If you dare to spread this fake news, just wait for the lawyer's letter." I had anticipated his desperate struggle. Pulling out a stack of documents from my briefcase, I said, "The surveillance footage from 2 a.m. last Wednesday at the Riverside Road Cafe, where you met with someone, shall we show it to everyone now?" The venue erupted, all cameras turning toward Lucas's face. Lucas grabbed the microphone beside him and roared, "It's a setup. Someone's trying to frame me." But faced with the evidence, no matter how much he struggled, it was already futile. I slammed the last stack of documents on the table, each sheet detailing his dirty dealings. "This is what you deserve. Betraying your family, stopping at nothing, you should have paid the price long ago." At that moment, Lucas's phone rang. "Lucas, get your ass home," Caroline's voice snapped. Suddenly, the sound of shattering porcelain echoed through the living room. Caroline collapsed beside the dining table, tossing the bacon onto the floor, grease splattering across the Persian rug. "Do you think I'm some beggar to be fed this?" Lucas's mother sat nearby, her hands trembling as she clenched her clothes. The hot porridge in her hand slammed heavily onto the table, scalding droplets splashing onto the nameplate necklace resting on Caroline's chest. "Eat it if you want," Lucas's mother said disdainfully. "If you want something better, make it yourself." "Old hag!" Caroline screamed, overturning bowls and plates. The shards of blue and white porcelain sliced across her father's hand, blood immediately seeping through. "What are you putting on airs for?" "If it weren't for you, my son wouldn't be getting a divorce," Lucas's mother said angrily. "Humph, who do you think my son is? If he hadn't been groveling after me, I wouldn't have married such a loser." "Enough." Lucas kicked the door open, his tie hanging crookedly around his neck. "Caroline, these are my parents." "Lucas, you're such a bastard. If I had known your family was such a mess, I would never have married you." Caroline said this and left the hospital without looking back. Lucas's company was also in chaos. A previously agreed-upon partnership was hijacked by a rival, and several key subordinates resigned one after another. Lucas was running back and forth between the company, his tie always crooked, no longer looking the confident and spirited man he once was. "I asked my mother-in-law to move in with us, but she refused." "Bonnie, you are the best daughter-in-law in the world. Whenever I think about the pain Lucas has caused you, I blame myself so much. We failed to raise our son properly. I'm sorry. Every day now, I pray that the harm he's done to you ends here, and that he never hurts you again," my mother-in-law said through tears. "Your son is in my hands. Prepare $3 million to ransom him. Don't call the police, or you'll never see your son again." A text from Caroline. "That woman has truly lost her mind." Speaking of Caroline, that woman's greed truly knows no bounds. She couldn't cover the huge hole left by her massive online loans, and actually thought of kidnapping my son to demand money from me. After calling the police, I was about to rush out to find my son when Cody stopped me. "I'll go with you," Cody said. On the way, I kept trembling, and Cody, driving, said, "Don't be nervous. Before they get the money, your son will definitely be safe." When we arrived at the warehouse Caroline had specified, the iron door was ajar. Pushing the door open, a pungent stench hit us. My son was tied to a broken table, crying out "Mom" loudly, his voice hoarse from shouting. Caroline saw us, a wild smile spreading across her face. "Bonnie, if you want to save your son, transfer the money to my account quickly, or else. Let go of my son. If you have something to say it to me," I said. "Humph, I'm here because of you. If you hadn't framed Lucas, his job wouldn't be like this now. And I wouldn't be this poor." Caroline shouted, "And you, Cody, you little bastard, why didn't you die out there with your mother back then? Why did you come back to steal everything that rightfully belongs to me? Everything in this family was originally mine. If your mother hadn't schemed against us, my mother wouldn't have died so tragically. You and your mother are born scoundrels, always destroying other people's families." Cody said to Caroline. "If you've got the guts, come and kill me." When Cody was 5, his father brought home Caroline's mother, who was pregnant, and Cody and his mother were driven out of the house. From then on, Cody and his mother lived a life of poverty outside. Deceived by Caroline's mother, his father believed they had been living well all along. Caroline was born just as his father closed a major business deal. She was born in spring, symbolizing how she would nurture the family like spring rain nourishing all living things. At 15, Cody's mother died, and he returned to that home. At 25, after studying abroad, Cody came back and joined the Ching family business. At 28, Cody found the evidence proving Caroline was not his father's biological child. His father had altered the will, leaving Caroline and her mother with no claim to the inheritance. At 29, Cody discovered that Caroline had teamed up with Lucas to bring down the Ching group, aiming to reduce Cody to a homeless man once again. Cody sounded the battle horn and began secretly fighting against Caroline and her allies. At 30, Cody handed over the evidence to the police that proved Caroline's mother was responsible for his mother's death. Caroline lunged at Cody recklessly with a fruit knife. Cody couldn't dodge in time, the blade plunged deep into his shoulder. They struggled fiercely, and he held Caroline tightly, shouting loudly, "Go save your son, quickly." I hesitated for a moment, then rushed to my son's side, fumbling to untie the ropes binding him, holding him tightly close to my chest. "Mom!" my son cried, burrowing into my arms, and my tears finally broke free. "Porter, you're very brave, aren't you?" I said, pressing my hands on his shoulders. "Mom, Porter's scared, he sobbed. "Porter, you hide over there, close your eyes, and count to 50 before looking for Mom. Let's play hide and seek, okay?" I told him, while planning to rescue Cody. I turned to see blood pouring from Cody's shoulder, yet he still clung tightly to Caroline's foot. Fortunately, the police arrived at that moment. Caroline was handcuffed, still furiously cursing. Cody collapsed on the ground but forced a faint smile. "Seeing you desperately protect the child, it's like how my mother protected me back then." I looked at my son, safe and sound in my arms, then at Cody being lifted into the ambulance, tears streaming down my face. Cody's injuries were serious, but not life-threatening. After settling everything, I threw myself back into my work. As I focused on my work, my assistant came into my office holding a bag. "Miss Bonnie, this is from a Mr. Lucas for you." It was a Disney backpack that a daughter would love, with a note inside, "Bonnie, for the sake of our children having a complete family, let's remarry." I told my assistant to throw the bag and backpack into the trash. The assistant looked at me with a puzzled expression but didn't dare to ask. Since then, Lucas has been putting on a show of deep remorse in front of me, like a magician performing tricks. He would order an iced Americano I like online and have it delivered to my office. He would buy fresh flowers online and send them to my company. He would wait for me in his car downstairs at my office when I was working late, and when he saw me leave the building, he'd pretend it was a coincidence and invite me to ride home with him. Every day he tried different tactics, hoping I would unblock his number. What infuriated me even more was that he went to pick up our son from kindergarten in the name of being his father. One day, I cornered him at our son's kindergarten. Lucas was crouched by the slide, playing with our son. "Ms. Bonnie, Mr. Lucas says he's the child's father, and Porter also calls him Dad, so we..." the teacher explained awkwardly. I took a deep breath. "Teacher Lee, he is indeed the child's father, but we are divorced. Custody is with me, and without my authorization, no one is allowed to pick up Porter." Lucas saw me, jogged over smiling, and said, "Bonnie, you're here?" I grabbed the bag in my hand and started hitting Lucas with it as hard as I could until my arm ached and I couldn't move it anymore. Lucas didn't dodge, he just let me hit him, which terrified the kindergarten teacher. "Bonnie, do you feel better now?" "If not, you can keep hitting me," Lucas said. "From now on, please call me Ms. Bonnie," I shouted. Lucas's face flushed bright red, and he whispered a plea, "This is my son's school, the teachers are watching, and my son is right here. No matter where we are, you can only call me Ms. Bonnie, Mr. Lucas," I said. "Also, without my permission, don't come near my children again, or I will call the police." "Bonnie, I know I was wrong. I was influenced by Caroline before and did things that hurt you. How about I divorce her and we get back together?" Lucas said. "Get lost, I don't want to see you," I shouted. "No matter what, I'm still the kid's father, so just forgive me," Lucas said. "The father of my children is already dead," I told him. "I can stop bothering you from now on, but could you please talk to Cody and ask him not to be so ruthless with me at work? Leave me a way out, okay?" Lucas pleaded softly. "No, I can't," I said. "Bonnie, if you don't think about me, then think about the two kids," Lucas continued. "You don't want them to have a failed father, do you? One who gets mocked by classmates and ends up with a damaged psyche? Humph, ever since you abandoned us and found them a stepmother, their father has been dead, there's no question of failure or success," I snapped bitterly. "Don't play the loving father in front of me. If it weren't for Caroline back then, we wouldn't have ended up like this, but we have to look forward, right?" Lucas went on, let's raise the kids together and help them grow up healthy. Isn't that what matters? Lucas, I warn you, don't try to get close to my children under any pretense. I said angrily. From the moment you and Caroline were together, from the moment you went to the hospital and nearly killed Grandma with anger, we have been enemies. Bonnie, Cody is just using you. You'll regret it sooner or later, Lucas said, exasperated. Regret is my business, not yours. If you dare to mess around again, I won't let you off no matter what. With that, I picked up my son and headed toward the kindergarten entrance. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Cody. The acquisition is entering its final stage. Attached was a photo of the sign being dismantled at the entrance of Lucas's company, U&A Group. I shoved my phone in front of Lucas, watching his face turn from red to pale. Your name will soon be on the industry's blacklist, falsifying financial data, giving kickbacks to clients. You better watch out for yourself. Suddenly, Lucas grabbed the collar of my coat. It was that bastard Cody. You two were behind this, ruining me. Before he finished, a black Maybach abruptly pulled over to the side of the road. Cody jumped out of the car and yanked Lucas away. Do you need me to call the police? Cody's voice was as cold as ice. The cuff of his suit sleeve revealed half a bandage, the wound he got while saving my son. Lucas stared at the white gauze, his Adam's apple bobbing as he slunk into a taxi by the roadside. 3 months later, Lucas was taken away by the police on multiple charges including falsifying financial data, giving kickbacks to clients, and embezzlement. Later, it was said that Lucas went mad in prison, endlessly muttering, Bonnie, let's go home together. One day, Cody accompanied me to take the kids to the amusement park. The 2 children were playing in the bubble pool while he and I stood watching by the side. Sunlight fell on the scar that was healing on him. For once, he softened his usual stern expression and gently said, Bonnie, marry me. I want to give you and the children a happy home. You're my boss, and I'm already married. We're not a good match, I said. You should choose a young, beautiful girl. I only like you. I like that fierce determination you have to do whatever it takes for your family, Cody said. I looked at my children playing and laughing in the distance, thought of the sunlight in Grandma's hospital room, recalled my journey from housewife to business elite, and realized that life's path must be walked alone. I smiled and shook my head. Cody, I don't want to get married right now. A woman doesn't have to be married to live a brilliant life. I want to follow my own heart and live for myself. Then I'll stay with you all the time, whether you want to get married or not, I'll be by your side to protect you, Cody said.